No. My name is Rose, Charles Rose. Could I speak to Miss Marlowe, please? No. Hello. 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 When we finally start putting my memoirs into words for the printed page, which we shall do at any moment now.
I hope.
Remind me to include a chapter on nincompoops, dullards, and imbeciles I have known.
Do you mean criminals?
I mean police.
I thought you always said that Scotland Yard
is as splendid a body of men as you meet on a long day's march.
But if you've got any sense, keep walking.
There is always an exception that proves the rule.
Are you referring to your black beast?
My what?
Your bête noire. I translated to make it easier for you.
I was referring to Chief Inspector
Oscar Entwistle.
A man who dives headfirst into every trap that is dug for him, who leaps at every obvious solution and falls flat on his fanny.
What's he done now?
He has detained Alan Hart for questioning, which means he's going to arrest him.
Well?
Sir, actors don't murder actresses. They merely say they will.
The exception to the rule?
Not Hart. He's a member of my club.
Oh, my God.
Who should have been detained, then?
If I were asked to name the murderer of Amanda Marlowe out of the blue, just like that.
You were asked.
I should say, without a doubt, Martin Strand.
Martin Strand?
A colleague of the corpse. Also a member of my club and the only one I would ever suspect of murder.
Good morning, Mr. Strand.
Morning, Prue.
Mr. Brenner phoned twice and Mr. Bickley phoned twice.
Give me Charles Rose, will you?
And you're late for rehearsal.
Ring my club. They'll give you his number. I want to see him as soon as possible. Lunch if he can make it.
A matter of life and death?
I think you'll know it is.
Hello, Charles. Good of you to come.
Not at all. I'm intrigued.
I've asked Harold Brenner to join us for lunch.
He's Hart's solicitor.
Yes.
Are we drinking?
Do you mind if I talk fast before Harold arrives? He's a lawyer. He'll do his best for his client, but, look, my motives are terse. I know Alan Hart as well as anyone. I knew Amanda better than anyone. I'm absolutely certain he didn't kill her.
So am I.
Are you? Why?
The inspector on the case, the black beast. He's never done anything right, not once. Sorry, private joke.
The trouble is, things look bad for Alan.
You'll have to tell me. All I know is the front page of the Times, that dreadful front page.
Well, Alan took her out to dinner that evening and they had a terrible row in public, practically throwing plates at each other. Finally, she swept out of the restaurant, screaming at the top of her voice.
And it was quite a voice.
He followed. They went back to her flat to finish the row in private. Shouted at each other for half an hour more, and then he left, slamming the door so hard, all the neighbors came out to see what it was.
What time is this?
10:20.
Exactly.
I think so. Why?
Continue.
Next morning, she's found dead. Apparently died just about the time he left the flat. And so far as can be proved, he was the last person to see her alive.
Things do indeed look bad.
Charles, I'll swear he didn't kill her. Is there any way you can help?
He has good, solid witnesses to the fact that he left Amanda Marlowe's flat at 10:20.
Oh, yes, no doubt about that. Why?
Ah, here's Brenner.
Hello, Harold.
Hello, Martin. Hello, Charles. How good of you to come.
Not at all. I'm involved.
Already? Not drinking?
Well, I think perhaps we ought to order something to celebrate.
Celebrate?
Well, I cannot at the moment reveal how.
What are you talking
You
about?
simply have to take my words for it. But I am in a position to prove that Alan Hart is as innocent as I am.
You mean that?
I had thought of saving up my bombshell for another day or two. In view of what you say, I shall explode it this afternoon.
Bombshell?
In the face of an old enemy.
Why the hell didn't you tell me this sooner?
How could I have?
She was killed last Friday night.
Yes, it was mentioned at the Times.
I could nick you for withholding information.
How was I to know that it was relevant to the case?
You ring up a woman at the very moment she's being murdered.
There was no mention in my newspaper of the time of her death.
And then you ask, how was I to know?
I still ask. How?
It might just possibly have occurred to you the Scotland Yard might like to be told.
As soon as the thought occurred to me, I came here. I ran. I flew.
All right. Explain how the thought crept into that brain of yours.
Alan Hart is a member of my club. I went there for lunch today and bumped into Harold Brenner,
His lawyer?
also a member of my club, and Martin Strand.
Oh, what was he doing there?
Believe it or not, he is a member of my club.
Oh. And the three of you just sort of happened to bump into each other.
It does sort of happen in clubs.
And of course they told you about Hart leaving the flat at 10:20.
It came up in conversation.
Whereupon?
My duty as a citizen became clear.
At last.
Chief Inspector Entwistle. Without my evidence, there might easily have been a terrible miscarriage of justice.
Now look. You're absolutely certain you rang Miss Marlowe's number at 10:27.
Absolutely. I looked at my watch
Why?
to see what time it was.
Why?
I'm a punctual man, erring on the side of earliness.
Oh, come on, why?
Miss Marlowe telephoned my home in the afternoon. I was out. She asked me to call her back at about 10:30.
Is your watch right?
To the second.
What's the time now?
At the third stroke, it will be 3:47. Ping, ping, ping.
3:43.
Will you allow me?
At the third stroke, it will be 3:47 and 10 seconds.
All right. Answer me this. What did Miss Marlowe want to speak to you about?
I've no idea.
You've no idea?
Like you. I'm totally ignorant.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Strand, but he hasn't come back yet. I really don't know where he is. Oh, yes, he came back from London, but then he went out again straight away. No, he didn't say anything. I suppose he decided to have dinner out somewhere. Yes, Mr. Hart rang several times to thank Mr. Rose. Oh, yes, I'm sure he'll be back sometime tonight. Yes? Yes, I'll tell him. Goodbye.
Mr. Bones, the butcher, is not at home.
I have done more lying since I came to this house.
In a good cause.
What cause?
It's good for Martin Strand to be on tenterhooks.
Why do you suspect Martin Strand?
I never cared for him. I thought of blackballing him when he put up for the club.
Is that all?
He's exactly the type of person I most dislike. Ruthless, cold-blooded to the point of inhumanity, determined to win no matter the cost.
You don't feel that you yourself are
If
at all...
Entwistle were not my black beast, Martin Strand would be.
Well, he'll be here tomorrow morning, first thing.
Of course.
And so will Alan Hart.
To thank me.
Yes.
Martin Strand under pretense of thanking me, but really because he needs to know what I know.
Will you tell him?
Oh, yes. Or I shall never know what he knows.
You mean you rang Amanda at 10:25?
27 past. We must be exact.
And a man answered.
A strange masculine voice said, hello. Then said no.
Oh, an extraordinary thing.
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly glad it happened, or they'd still be third-degreeing me.
You didn't enjoy Chief Inspector Entwistle.
He's the biggest moron I've ever met in my life.
How well put.
Me not fully recovered from Friday night. Well, after I left Amanda, I rushed off to the Pickwick and fairly drank myself stupid.
Understandable.
But why on earth are you ringing Amanda?
She asked me to.
A message?
She spoke to my secretary. I was out.
The message didn't explain why.
Shall we interrogate my secretary? Drusilla? Drusilla, may I introduce...
Alan Hart, how do you do?
How do you do? I've often seen you on the stage.
Oh, really? How marvellous.
Yes, you were.
No, I meant for me. Look, next time you must come round and say hello, will you, please?
I'd love to.
And perhaps we could have a drink, or maybe a bit of supper.
And Martin Strand.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Do sit down.
Thank you.
So you won't forget, will you? Promise.
Yes.
Drusilla, when Miss Marlowe telephoned here...
She simply said, I want to talk to him. Would you ask him to ring me at 10:30?
Well, of course. She knew she was going out to dinner with me, so she expected to be back by then.
And that's all she said?
Yes.
I know what it was about.
Oh, good.
She wanted you to help with the play. Play? Oh, Amanda and I were going to put on a play together. She'd found it somewhere. There was a good part for her in it.
But of course.
She brought it to me. I offered to go 50-50. A thriller, a detective story. Oh, you know, murder.
I love a good murder.
Brilliant piece of writing, but the kind of thing that's got to be watertight. Now, I wasn't sure the details were absolutely right. You know what I mean? About police procedure.
I do indeed.
I had what I thought was a good idea. You're a big name these days. I can't open the paper without reading about you and your forthcoming memoir.
That's true.
I say, why not kill two birds with one stone? Accuracy plus publicity. I'd get Charles Rose to be technical advisor.
Who better? Drusilla, would you ask the kitchen staff to make us some coffee?
The kitchen staff is having his day off.
Then you?
There was no urgency. I was going to mention it to you next time I saw you. I suppose Amanda decided to jump the gun.
Ah.
And take the credit for having thought of it herself.
A brilliant explanation.
What do you mean, brilliant?
It explains why she telephoned me.
Yes. Well, why?
Do you still want me as technical advisor?
You don't believe the play exists, do you? Alan's read it already. I offered him the hero.
Well, it's a nice part, but not for me, at least not opposite Amanda. That's what our screening match was about. I let drop the tiny notion that perhaps she was a trifle too old.
Will you do the job?
Technical advisor?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll tell you what I have in mind. It'll be a marvelous cover for you to find out who really is the murderer.
By the way, Charles, what did you say your secretary's name was?
So when do I get a day off?
What were you going to do with it?
Lie flat on my back and read Iris Murdoch.
I've saved you from that. You're involved in a real-life drama.
Like waiting outside with the car.
We're going to visit the scene of the crime.
What for? As if I didn't know.
Say it.
All we are sure of is that there was a man in the flat at 10:27. We must check for ourselves that Alan Hart really did leave the flat at 10:20 and did not go back into it.
Why must we check?
Because we have nasty disbelieving minds, even though he is a lovely chap and a member of our club.
Correct. What else must we do?
Assuming it was a different man who answered the phone.
As seems most likely.
We must find out how the hell he got in.
Correct.
You know the disadvantage of this case? It's all men, and the only good-looking woman is dead.
You may be in for a surprise.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Rose. I telephoned earlier.
Yes, would you come in?
John, would you speak to the people next door? And the porter and anyone else who may be able to help us.
And then?
Wait outside with the car.
She came back here with Mr. Hart. It was just before 10 o'clock.
You knew Mr. Hart?
Oh, yes, he'd been here a number of times. She rang for me, and when I went in, he started shouting at her.
What did he say?
Well, it was something about her being a stupid bitch and having no more idea of acting than his big toenail. Well, naturally, I was embarrassed. So I said, "Did you want anything, madam?" And she said, "No, go to bed." She obviously wanted me out of the way with him carrying on like that.
So you went to bed?
Yes.
And to sleep?
Well, my room's quite a long way away, next to the kitchen. But I could still hear them shouting at each other. You know, just the sound of their voices.
Both of them?
Yes. Then I heard a door slam. It must have been this one. Then the front door, and that's all.
The front door. A Yale lock and a mortise.
Yes, we never used the mortise. Not unless we went away somewhere.
So that when Mr. Hart slammed the door behind him, it would have locked itself on the Yale.
That's right.
Did you happen to notice the time when he slammed the door?
Yes, I looked at the clock in my room. It was 10:20.
Why did you look at the clock?
Well, I was a bit surprised he'd left so early. I thought they'd probably, you know, kiss and make up.
And if someone had come into the flat immediately after that?
That's what the inspector asked me. But I don't think anyone could have.
Why not?
Because he'd have to have rung the bell and I'd have heard him.
From your room?
Oh, yes, it rings here and in the kitchen. I'd have been bound to hear him.
Someone with a key?
Oh, no, the only people with keys were Miss Marlowe and me.
You're sure of that?
Oh, yes. She never let anyone have a key. She said if she did, he might turn up at any hour of the day or night, just when she least wanted to see him, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It was the one thing she was very strict about.
Puzzling.
That's what the inspector said.
After Mr. Hart had left, did you hear anything else? Anything at all?
Well, I wondered if I'd heard the telephone. Then I wasn't sure, you know, just one ting, and that was all. Then I thought, well, if it was the telephone, Miss Marlowe's answered it.
It wasn't Miss Marlowe who answered.
And then I read in bed for a bit, then I went to sleep.
Was it you who found Miss Marlowe in the morning?
I had the shock of my life. She was lying just here, strangled, with this stocking knotted round her neck. Would you like a drink?
How kind.
We might as well. There's plenty of it. I'm staying on here till they decide what to do with the flat, so I'm making myself at home. Gin? Scotch?
Scotch, please.
Oh, excuse me.
No, I'll go. Thought I told him to wait outside with the car.
Do me a favor. Stay out of my case.
If you insist.
And stay out of this flat.
Good morning to you, then.
Oh, it may interest you to know that I'm taking in someone else for questioning. Another friend of yours. Also a member of your club.
Then it is possible that you have stumbled on the right solution.
Yes, the lawyer, Harold Brenner.
Where now?
Nowhere.
Then why are we in the car?
So that I can duck down if that dreadful Entwistle man comes out quickly. What news?
Alan Hart apologized to the people in the next flat who came to the door, ran down the stairs, knocked up the porter and apologized to him, just in case there were complaints, rushed out into the street, leapt into a taxi and sailed away. All at the speed of light. The entire operation taking from 10:20 to, say, 10:22.
Then off to the Pickwick to drink himself stupid, where no doubt 100 people saw it.
No doubt.
So that puts Alan Hart in the clear.
Definitely.
We must now put Harold Brenner in the clear.
Brenner?
The Black Beast now suspects him. Ah, well. I shall walk to my club and brew.
What do I do? Wait with the car?
I'm very sorry to have to say this, but when Entwistle comes out...
I go in.
I took the precaution of leaving my hat there.
Oh, morning, Charles. Careful again.
No, thank you. I was just looking for a place to brew.
What?
Since no one is ever in here except you.
Can't get anyone to play with me these days.
My dear Carnforth, you're an old sharper, and frankly...
Haven't had a decent game since Friday night.
Your stakes are too high.
With Harold Brenner.
What did you say?
What?
You played last Friday night with Harold Brenner.
Yes, why?
Well, then perhaps I will have 100 hours.
Hello.
Mr. Rose left his hat
Yes.
in order for me to come and get it.
So come and get it.
1753.
I told you you're too good for me.
Aha.
Brenner good.
About your standard.
How long did you play with him last Friday night?
Couple of hours.
After dinner?
Yes, why?
Like 9 or so?
Till 11, 11:30. Your go.
I don't like this cue. Tell me, were the two of you together in this room all that time?
Of course we were. What's up with you, Charles?
I'm sorry, but I really must ask this. Was anybody else here?
Waiter came in a few times. Now, would you mind having your go?
I concede the contest. Your £5. Money well spent.
Let's start looking for the hat after lunch.
You taking me to lunch?
I thought somewhere we could be alone.
Like where?
Got any food in the flat?
Eggs?
I'm very good with eggs. Show me.
Can't move?
Where did the body fall? I'm superstitious. I want to walk round it.
Here. Who do you think killed her?
Well, it wasn't Mr. Hart.
Well, if it wasn't Mr. Hart, I should think it was Mr. Brenner.
Why do you say that?
Well, it must have been a cream passionelle, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
And Mr. Brenner was the last one who was passionelle with her.
Thought I asked you to stay out of this case.
Yes, you did. Quite clearly.
Well, then what are you doing here?
Is there no way of pleasing you?
Yes. Get back to your country seat and sit on it.
But then you might nick me for withholding information.
What information?
As soon as I learnt it, I came here. I ran, I flew.
What information?
In the hope of preventing you making an utter fool of yourself.
Oh, come on, what information?
That is, if you haven't already had Brenner in for questioning.
Oh, not yet. He's in court. We're picking him up later. Why?
My dear Entwistle, don't do it.
Now, look. Brenner was her lover. That maid told me. Big solicitor, got a wife, doesn't want a scandal. Enough of a reason. It'll do for a start.
Yes.
I just want to know where he was at 10:27 that night.
Assuming, as I suppose you do, that the murderer must have entered the flat by one means or another sometime between 10:21, when Alan Hart ran downstairs, and 10:27, when I telephoned.
Assuming you told me the truth.
You may assume it.
I still haven't found anyone who can tell me where Brenner was at that time.
At that time, and for at least an hour before and an hour afterwards, he was playing billiards at my club.
Oh, who says so?
The waiter who served him drinks.
I don't trust waiters. Who else?
His opponent, Carnforth.
Carnforth?
Now, Carnforth may be a dreadful old born, a terrible old billiard sharper, but he was, after all, for several years, Commissioner of Police of the Metropolis.
And if it wasn't Brenner, who else could it have been?
I don't know.
Martin Strand.
Oh, no, that was just business. He hadn't been a lover for 2 years.
Hey, listen, how many lovers did she have?
Well, sometimes she used to get a little bit drunk. Then she'd call me in and give me a drink, too. And she'd start walking up and down, roaring with laughter. I've never heard anyone laugh like that. You know, real enjoyment, as if it was the biggest joke in the world. And she'd say, "Well, Heather, I may not be a great actress, but boy, oh boy, I'm the last of the great courtesans." And then she'd say, "Heather, if anyone tries to tell you that the woman always pays, don't you believe one tiny word of it." Laughing fit to kill herself. And then at the top of her voice, "And they ain't finished paying yet."
Did you mention that bit to the inspector?
No, should I have done?
I bet you can't kiss me without spilling your brandy.
Bet you I can.
How much?
Nothing.
Thank God you're not mercenary.
No, I haven't heard from him all day. I've no idea where he is or what he's doing. Or what you're doing, come to that. I'm sorry. It's just that I feel rather left out of things.
All right, never mind. I'll track him down. We'll be back to dinner and we'll hold you spellbound with an account of our exploits. Goodbye, Drusilla. Would you mind if I made just one more call?
Help yourself.
Cool. I really must find out what John is doing. And tell him to stop doing it.
If it's a man called Rose or a girl called Lamb, I'm not here.
A girl called Lamb?
An employee of mine.
Hello. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Rose. He left hours ago. No, he didn't say a thing. I thought he was going to find you. Yes. Yes, I will. You too. Bye. His last words were, "Be good."
Duty calls.
Mr. Rose?
I must go and move that car again. At this stage in our relationship, we don't want trouble with the police.
Be as quick as you can.
Hey, you come too. We'll try something on the way back.
Try something?
Did I tell you I used to be a criminal?
It's really very good.
The play?
I'm the merest member of the public in these matters, but if my taste is anything to go by, Martin has a great big smash hit on his hands.
Yes, we think so too.
Just one thing, the heroine.
Constance?
Constance. Described here as a deliciously pretty red-headed girl in her early 20s.
Yes?
I imagine someone in the part looking remarkably like you.
Oh, no, that was the part for Miss Marlowe. Well, otherwise she wouldn't have let us have the play, would she?
If I may say so, Martin must be greatly relieved that Miss Marlowe is no longer available.
Oh, yes. It's the best thing that could have happened.
Wait a minute. This is where we try something.
What's that for?
You have your key. Miss Marlowe had hers.
Yes.
No other keys in existence.
No.
At the time of the murder, your key was in there, in your handbag.
Yes.
Her key was in there, in her handbag.
Yes, the police found it there next morning.
But the only way into the flat is through this door.
Unless you've got wings.
Murderers don't have wings, right?
Think you can do it?
If he could do it, I can. If I can't, he couldn't.
Charles, I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting. At rehearsal, I've no sense of time.
I've passed an hour very agreeably.
Prue, dear, give us a drink. I need one now. You mean with the play?
With Prue. And the play.
It's great, isn't it?
You don't need any advice from me except do it.
Oh, I shall, as soon as I've got this other one started.
Scotch?
Please.
Did you guess who done it?
Not for a moment. A most ingenious murder.
I was thinking about it today. And my mind ran on to Amanda.
Not that there's any resemblance between that mystery and this.
Yes, I know, but it occurred to me. If I had that kind of ingenious mind for working things out, which I haven't, I could have murdered Amanda myself.
But you haven't that kind of mind.
I can't even do children's crosswords. But I could, in fact, have killed Amanda.
Scotch.
Thank you, Prue.
God knows I had enough reason to. She used to be my mistress. Oh, Prue doesn't mind. She knows all about me.
Oh.
And the thing is, I could just have done it in the time.
I think a little more water.
That afternoon, Prue came to rehearsal with me. Oh, it was a shambles, wasn't it? We went on later and later. Then Prue and I came back here and sorted out my notes till I was fagged and couldn't do any more. And that was about...
10:15 you left.
Exact.
I get paid overtime. I'm exact within a minute.
I had to unwind, so I just sort of strolled. Then I thought I'd have a drink at the club, so I went there.
What time?
25 to. I can't say to a minute. Had a leak, had a wash, walked into the bar, met all the old chums. I don't suppose they could say to a minute either.
Harold Brenner?
No. Was he there?
He was playing billiards. Of course, you wouldn't have seen him.
But look, it's all in the parish of St. James's. Now, if I'd moved fast instead of slow, I could have got to Amanda's, bumped her up, answered the phone to you, rushed out again, and still been in the club bar by 25 to.
The schedule is tight, to put it mildly.
But not impossible.
Just this side of impossibility. If you can tell me, forgive me changing the tense, but it makes things easier, how you managed to open her front door.
Oh, with a strip of celluloid or something? Like burglars do in films.
I'm afraid it's the key or nothing. I can't do it. So he didn't.
Strand, why have you told me all this?
I imagine I'll be the next suspect. What do you think I ought to do?
I'd say go to the police.
No, thank you.
If it weren't for that dreadful Entwistle. No, of course, you're quite right.
I don't want to offer myself. But I don't want them to think I've been concealing anything. Charles, I suppose you wouldn't care to,
do it for you?
Yes.
If you ask me to.
And he asked you to come here and tell me all that?
Yes.
What do you make of it?
Do you really want my opinion?
I want it very much indeed.
I think Strand is playing a little game in order to make you believe that he must be innocent.
When in fact he's guilty.
All my instincts tell me so.
Crept in, killed her, and crept out again.
Yes.
No, he could just have done it in the time.
It's the old story of the centenarian who fathered children in several counties. And when asked how he managed, replied, "I have a bicycle." I'm glad you liked it.
Yes, I've already done some checking on Mr. Strand. He left that club of yours at 11, went to a high-class gambling joint and stayed there until breakfast time.
The point is, where was he at 10:27?
Do you want my opinion?
Please.
Well, my opinion is that Mr. Martin Strand has nothing to worry about except his habits. And that you, Mr. Rose, are an ignorant clot who hasn't even done his bloody homework.
Like a desert island. The rest of the world doesn't exist. Let's stay here forever.
Yes, it's nice now it's all tidy again.
Was it untidy?
Oh, yes, didn't I tell you? I thought you knew.
Knew what?
Well, the man who murdered her got her keys out of her bag and opened the safe and the desk and the drawers and the cupboards, so everything, and took every single thing out from everywhere and went through it all and arranged it in little piles all over the floor. The inspector said it must have taken at least an hour, more like 2.
Homework? Where's John?
Still not back.
And where is breakfast?
I've made coffee.
I hate your coffee.
Well, then go without.
Last night I was humiliated as never before in my life. I need sustenance.
You may share my Berkshire muesli.
I have to think. I can't think on Berkshire muesli. Where is John?
John!
Dead letters for Miss Marlowe.
Oh, yes, I have to give those to the police.
2 look like bills. 1 from America. Who's Derek Strickland?
Oh, him.
Yet another.
Yet another.
You go in there. I'll make you a cuppa.
Coffee?
Right, coffee. All I need is a kettle.
There must be a simple explanation.
Of course there is.
But it eludes me.
Well, it doesn't elude me.
Tell me.
You were wrong.
That is not an explanation.
It's terribly simple. You've proved it wasn't Alan Hart or Harold Brenner, and you know it can't have been Martin Strand because the murderer must have been in the flat for an hour or 2 and Strand couldn't have been there for longer than 5 minutes.
Yes.
So it was someone else. It's simple.
I shall go and lie down. Inspiration will come.
You are a retired detective who is supposed to be writing his memoirs.
Is that John?
Hello?
Hello. Hello, John.
Good morning. I hope Drusilla made your breakfast. No, I was working late. I spent the night at the YMCA. Listen, general knowledge quiz. Who was the greatest courtesan of her time? And her lovers never finished paying, except the one who wrote to her, Madam, publish and be damned.
Harriet Wilson, and the letter was written by the Duke of Wellington.
I'm sorry, sir, that is not the answer on the card. The correct answer is Amanda Marlowe. Amanda Marlowe. The letter was written by someone called Derek Strickland, posted in New York on the day of her death. Second question. How do you get through a locked door when you've got no key and no way of opening it? Because even I couldn't open it.
How do you get through a locked door?
I'll give you 12 hours to think of the answer to that one. I still have things to do. I'll be back sometime this evening. Love to all. Must run now. Goodbye.
Are you off on some new wild goose chase, or do we get on with the memoirs?
Memoirs? Exactly.
Ready when you are.
Drusilla, how do you get through a locked door when you have no key and no way of opening it?
You can't.
Oh, yes, you can, very easily. Do you think it's too early for a bottle of champagne?
It's ringing now. Oh, hello, is Mr. Rose there, please? Martin Strand.
Hello? Hello, Charles. Look, Alan Hart's just called me. He's so grateful to you for what you've done. He's longing to buy you a dinner or something. And you know how I feel. You going to the police like that and making sure I'd nothing to worry about. I'd like to join in with Alan. Yes. And I thought I'd call Harold Brenner. I'm sure he'd want to come along, too.
Well, why not tonight? It feels like my birthday. I'm celebrating already. Yes. Yes, but I can't tell you how much I am looking forward to it. All right, then. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Drinks at Strand's office, dinner at the Caprice, and brandy at the club.
And no work tomorrow.
But work today. One sip or swig and take a letter.
I can't do shorthand on champagne.
To the Assistant Commissioner in charge, Criminal Investigation Department. Dear Porky.
What?
Porky, you may be interested to hear that I have solved the mystery of Amanda Marlowe's death. What time does the post go?
You've missed the early one, 4:30.
Just one point I must confirm first. Heaven forbid I should be caught napping again. I think I'll take the letter to London with me and post it there. Where was I?
And Amanda Marlowe's death.
In fact, by the time you receive this, I shall have unmasked... Oh. And a copy to Chief Inspector Entwistle.
Afternoon, Charles. Care for a game?
I have come here especially for that purpose.
100 up for 5 quid, same as last time.
I have the money ready.
Good.
Tell me, Cardforth, do you spend your entire life in here?
Shan't be here tonight, damn it.
Why not?
Dinner at the palace.
But of course, you're a man of great prestige and renown.
Yes.
With your powers of observation still intact and your memory as good as ever.
Asking me about Harold Brenner again?
Yes.
The answer to your question is, he did not leave this room for a single moment all the time he was playing with me. 9 o'clock till something like 11:30.
Thank you. That is what I thought.
Want to hand over the fiver now?
Oh, I have an hour to spare. You may as well have your fun, as well as my money.
Hello.
Welcome home.
The boss around?
He's gone up to London.
Oh.
By train.
Yes. Well...
He hates traveling by train.
Listen. I've been working away like a beaver getting him information.
An eager beaver?
Yes.
Not a stoat.
What?
You have lipstick on your collar.
Have I? What's he gone up to London for?
I gather to unmask the murderer.
Get away from those rowdy bridge players.
Hello, where's Carnforth?
It must be his night off.
Never had such a dinner in my life.
Well, you deserved it.
Yes. And no Carnforth?
Yes, lovely and peaceful.
Yes, I do rather pride myself on having solved the mystery of Amanda's death.
Well, at least you put me in the clear, anyway.
I call her Amanda, though I never met her nor spoke to her. But I do feel a certain kinship.
Oh, really?
Both aging beauties.
More than that. We were both writing our memoirs.
Oh, I knew you were, Charles.
You were wrong, I think, you know, Martin. I don't think she wanted to talk to me about the play. Having seen my success, she wanted to get in touch with me about publication.
Amanda couldn't even spell her own name.
Oh, I don't suppose she ever intended to write the book. She just wanted to create the impression.
Oh, why, for heaven's sake?
In order to be paid for not writing.
Ah, yes, I've come across that trick in my time.
Harriet Wilson in the 1820s once asked the great Duke of Wellington how much he would pay to be left out of her life story. And he replied, Madam, publish and be damned. As Derek Strickland did, only this morning.
But he's in New York for that play of his.
That is why the letter arrived only this morning.
Bless my soul, Derek of all people.
However, the memoirs merely supply the motive. They don't really do anything to help solve the crime.
You really mean you've solved it?
Yes.
Oh, come off it, Charles. You've done wonderful work, and we're all very grateful. Now drink your brandy and rest on your laurels.
No, wait a minute. I asked Charles to find out the murderer.
You did indeed.
If he knows, I want to hear it.
Me too.
If you insist.
Very well, I go along with the majority. I insist as well.
It's all a question of time, of timing. So important on the stage. Do you think we should replenish our glasses? Centering, of course, on my telephone call at 10:27.
Your providential telephone call, or I'd have been in the tumbril.
May we go back a little? Say to 10:15. I was peacefully sitting at home, Harold was peacefully playing billiards with Carnforth, and Martin was peacefully leaving his office.
And I was peacefully having a screaming match with Amanda.
Exactly. Now, if we may go on a little, say, to 10:20. Harold and I are still in the same places. Martin has hared through the streets, indeed, maybe have used a bicycle.
What, my dear
Alan
Charles?
Hart glances at his wristwatch and hurls one last insult.
Charles, you're balmy.
And the whole thing hangs, of course, on the ancient riddle, when is a door not a door? And the answer, of course, is when it is ajar. The climax of a great acting performance.
And don't bother to see me out.
And there, waiting to come in, is Martin Strand.
And I hope I never see you again, you stupid bitch.
What's going on here? Oh, Sam, I'm terribly sorry. What, at this time of night? Yeah, I really do apologize. It's all my fault. You mustn't blame Miss Marder. Excuse me, will you put out Fred? I've got to rush.
10:21. The hubbub has died away. 10:22. Hart has established his alibi.
Evening, Amanda.
Jump to 10:26 and a half. Lo. My name is Rose, Charles Rose. Could I speak to Miss Marlowe, please?
No.
Hello. 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 And shortly after 10:30, Strand walks into the club here, cheerily greeting his friends.
But this is what I told you.
Yes.
How I could have done it.
Except that I explained the door.
But the police said I'd nothing to worry about.
But they couldn't explain the door. They can now.
But it couldn't have been me. The murderer was there for an hour or two.
Who told you that?
You rang, sir?
Oh, yes. 4 more brandies, please. Large ones.
Right, sir.
No matter who told me.
But it does matter. I didn't. The police didn't.
Doesn't matter who told me.
Brenner, you may be able to help on this point.
I'll try.
Strand came into the club that night.
No, I'm afraid I didn't even see him. I was here with old Carnforth till 11:30.
And where after that?
Where?
You see, I think the murderer took Amanda's front door key from her handbag, put it into an envelope with the name of a friend on it, and pinned it on the message board of this club.
You mean with my name on it?
The player had played his part, the man of action had struck. Who better than a lawyer to take her key, go back to her flat and spend an hour or two sorting out her papers?
Charles, you'll find it very difficult to associate me with this crime.
But wasn't it you who thought it up?
Good heavens, no.
Charles, dear boy, you must be out of your tiny Chinese mind. Harold obviously had nothing to do with it. I mean, I could have killed Amanda cheerfully, but you know me, I'm not the sort of genius who could work out that kind of a plot.
But you didn't have to. Harold worked it out for you.
What?
Charles, you absolutely literally must be joking.
And I congratulate you on a very skillful job, covering every point, even one that we haven't mentioned yet. Somebody had to telephone Amanda's flat after Hart had left, or Hart's alibi was no use.
You rang.
That was an accident. You weren't to know that, so you telephoned too.
My dear chap, I'm terribly sorry, but I was in here every moment of the time till goodness knows when with the ex-commissioner of police.
Yes, I spoke to him again today. It's quite true you were.
So?
You are still the third member of a conspiracy to murder.
But how could I have rung?
Your brandies, gentlemen?
Thank you. Baxter, last Friday night when Mr. Brenner and Mr. Carnforth were in here,
Yes, sir?
did Mr. Brenner ask you to telephone a certain number at a certain time?
No, sir.
I must tell you that Scotland Yard will ask you that same question tomorrow morning.
He asked me to ring a certain number just before 10:30.
Whose number?
Miss Marlowe's.
What reply did you get?
Engaged.
And what did Mr. Brenner say to you next day when Miss Marlowe was dead?
He asked me not to tell anyone, and he gave me £10. I'm sorry, Mr. Brenner.
So am I.
Not at all. Any time I can help. Well, goodbye, Entwistle, and don't forget next time, do your homework.
Yes, but look at it.
All members of your club.
Not for very much longer.